I'd like to call back to order the City Council meeting of January 6th. There is a modification to the agenda this evening. We have a proposed motion to amend item 26, resolution number 41841, to add cancellation of the April 7 and September 1 study session and council meetings. Is there anyone wishing to comment on resolution number 41841 may do so during public comment. Are there any additional modifications to the agenda this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to adopt the consent agenda, including resolutions number 41827 and 41828, and the first reading of ordinance number 29090.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections? Is there a motion relating to the hearing examiner?
I move to accept the findings, conclusions, and recommendations of the hearing examiner for ordinance number 29090.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion is declared adopted. All those in favor of adopting the consent agenda, including setting ordinance number 29090 over to a date to be determined, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. The consent agenda is declared adopted. Moving on to proclamations, recognitions, presentations, and announcements. Item number 12, we are proclaiming January 2026 as National Mentoring Month. We have two ceremonials tonight for the National Mentoring Month proclamation. I would like to invite Jolynn Kennedy, Executive Director, Hope Ambassador, Alice Macera, People and Culture Manager for Tacoma Power, and Cassandra Zhu, Leadership Development Consultant for Human Resources, to the podium as I read the proclamation. Will you please come forward? Welcome. Whereas January is recognized nationwide as National Mentoring Month, celebrating the transformative power of mentoring relationships, and whereas mentoring fosters meaningful connections that support personal growth, educational and career success, social and emotional well-being, and a sense of belonging for both mentors and mentees, and whereas mentors serve as role models, guiding individuals to navigate challenges and encouraging them to reach their full potential, helping to shape a strong and resilient community, and whereas organizations like Mentor Washington and local mentoring programs play a vital role in training mentors, supporting mentees, and sustaining these invaluable mentoring relationships, and whereas National Mentoring Month calls upon individuals, businesses, schools, faith communities, and civic organizations to engage in mentoring and ensure people of all ages have access to caring and supportive guidance, and whereas the city recognizes mentoring as a proven strategy to increase engagement, improve well-being, and inspire long-term success, and whereas mentoring across the lifespan, including youth, early career professionals, and experienced public servants, enriches individuals, organizations, and communities alike, and whereas Tacoma Public Utilities and other city departments invest in employee mentoring to cultivate confidence, leadership capacity, and a sense of belonging, recognizing that a supported workforce is essential to serving residents with excellence, care, and accountability. Now, therefore, I, Anders Ibsen, Mayor of the City of Tacoma, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim January 2026 as National Mentoring Month in the City of Tacoma, and encourage all residents to celebrate the dedicated mentors who make a difference in the lives of others, to consider becoming a mentor, and to support local mentoring programs that strengthen our community and future. Please say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Ibsen. And Happy New Year, Happy National Mentoring Month. I love that, my name is Jolynn Kennedy, Executive Director of Mentor Washington. I love that your first proclamation is for mentoring on a night when everybody is sworn into their new roles or continuing roles. And every single one of you mentioned another person who was important to you in shaping your paths, your decisions, your service, your trajectory. Sometimes those people are young people. Sometimes our role models are younger than us and not older than us. Mentor Washington is a statewide nonprofit. There's about 170 youth mentoring programs across the state. We're leading the national mentoring movement here in the state of Washington. And I will tell you that Pierce County and the city of Tacoma have one of the strongest presence of youth mentoring across the state. So we are incredibly grateful to be here. We have some of our local programs also here tonight. Palmer Scholars, Multicultural Family and Child Hope Center, Big Brothers Big Sisters has a presence here in town, the Big Homie program. There's tons of local youth mentoring programs we're celebrating. So thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, newly elected council members, and continuing council members. Congratulations on getting sworn in, if you were tonight. My name is Malachi Cabrera. I serve as the Development Coordinator for Palmer Scholars. And if you're unfamiliar with Palmer Scholars, we have been around since 1983, over 40 years of mentoring youth, college education, college readiness, and pre-apprenticeship training. So tonight is not just a proclamation, it's a meaning that Tacoma sees our programs, the youth sees our programs and sees our impact. So thank you so much for just acknowledging this, for proclaiming this month to be National Mentor Month. I know personally that I have several mentors in my life. Some of you may be here tonight, right? But I'm just so grateful that the city is officially recognizing and proclaiming this month to be National Mentor Month. And I hope that we see some people here tonight engage with Palmer Scholars. We have our annual luncheon coming up on March 26th, so just wanted to put a plug in there. And we welcome everybody to come learn about our programs and how to be a mentor to our youth and community. Thank you so much.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Cassandra, and I am the Citywide Leadership Development Consultant. In my work, I've had the opportunity to connect with employees in every city department across all levels, and it's clear to me that there's huge leadership potential within our existing workforce. As city employees, we're surrounded by individuals with a service mindset who make efforts to better lead those around them toward our collective success. We as an organization, as a city, we are focused on the growth, development, and continuous improvement of our adult workforce. And I'm here to speak to you about the Leadership Launchpad coaching program for city employees, which is designed to grow talent from within by bridging the gap between individual contributors and first-level leadership. By connecting our emerging leaders with experienced and established leaders, we facilitate cross-departmental knowledge sharing and on-the-job learning that directly connects to a more effective and cohesive organization, which most importantly allows us to better serve Tacoma's community. We completed the first cohort this past fall with 54 participants across 14 departments. Mentees have highlighted that a key takeaway from the program is learning that advancement means finding opportunities right where they are to improve their teams and ultimately improve the way that we serve the city. If we want our work to benefit Tacoma, then we have to invest in supporting the development of those who are doing the work. When our employees are better equipped with skills like critical thinking, empathy, and accountability, they're better prepared to solve the complex challenges that our residents face every day. So we'll be launching our second cohort this spring, and city employees can find more information by searching for Leadership Launchpad on the Hub. Thank you again for the opportunity to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Ibsen and members of the council. I'll keep it quick because I know we have many of us, but we're just very excited about Mentoring Month. And I want to thank you specifically for honoring us and honoring the work that not only the public does when they mentor the youth, but also what our own employees do when they mentor each other. And I think that that helps build a leadership pipeline, and it helps us become better employees, better public servants, so that we can provide better customer service to our community. My name is Alice Macera. I'm the People and Culture Manager at Tacoma Public Utilities, and this year will be the 7th year that we've brought the TPU Mentor Program to the organization. And over the course of those 7 years, we've had upwards of 650 employees who have gone through it. And they either act as mentors, mentees, as peers, or as part of a group. And what I get to see every single year is the joy in them and the opportunity to give back and the opportunity to grow as professionals and, again, as servants. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, please come forward and accept the nomination. And will you join me in giving a round of applause?
All right, everybody, let's get together. Big smiles. All right. 1, 2, 3. Just take one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to item number 13, proclaiming January 2026 as Whole Child Month. For the Whole Child Month proclamation, I'd like to invite Laura Allen, Whole Child Director, Tacoma Public Schools, to the podium as I read the proclamation. Whereas every child deserves to grow up in a community where they are seen, valued, and supported, and where schools, parks, and neighborhoods are safe, joyful, and empowering places to play, learn, and dream. And whereas children thrive when surrounded by caring adults and inclusive opportunities that allow them to participate fully, connect meaningfully, and reach their full potential regardless of background. And whereas education is about nurturing the whole child, supporting not only academic success, but also critical thinking, creativity, health, and emotional well-being. And whereas strong communities are built through partnerships among families, educators, mentors, and civic leaders who work together to create environments rooted in belonging, wellness, and hope. And whereas investing in the whole child strengthens our city's future by fostering equity, compassion, and opportunity for all. Now, therefore, I, Anders Ibsen, Mayor of the City of Tacoma, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim January 2026 as Whole Child Month in the City of Tacoma, and encourage all residents to join me in supporting the well-being, growth, and potential of every child in our community. I'd like to call on Laura to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Mayor, council members, and congratulations. My friends, so what we've just declared is a promise. It's a promise that every child in our community is worth fighting for, worth believing in, and worth showing up for every single day. And let me tell you something, that when we choose to see the greatness in our kids, when we choose to lift them up, we're not just shaping their future, we're shaping ours. And that's the work, that's the mission, that's the magic. So let's walk out of here with a little more courage in our stride, a little more hope in our hearts, and maybe, just maybe, a little more faith in one another. Because when we stay united, when we stay relentless, and we stay kind, there's nothing, and I mean nothing, that our children won't be able to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you. Please join me in Scepter proclamation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for all the work you do.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, 1, 2, 3. And one more, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Moving on to public comment. On tonight's agenda, there is one opportunity for people to comment. Under public comment, you can speak about motions, resolutions, and ordinances on tonight's agenda, except for ordinance number 29090, for which a public hearing has already been held. This forum is intended to give speakers the opportunity to share their viewpoints and feedback with the City Council to aid in our decision-making, and is not meant to be a back-and-forth dialogue. Your remarks should be directed to the City Council and not at individual staff members. If you're attending virtually and you'd like to speak under the public comment period, press the raise hand button near the bottom of your Zoom window, or *9 on your phone now, so we can see the number of people wishing to testify this evening. If you're speaking in person, please sign up in the back of the room if you have not done so already. Your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number will be called out when it's your turn to speak. Public comment, clerk, will you please read?
This is the time set aside for public comment. Speakers are asked to identify the specific legislation they wish to address.
I'd like to remind everyone to please keep your comments respectful, relevant, focused, and on topic. We strive to provide a comment period where people can feel respected while sharing a wide variety of viewpoints, and acknowledge that we may hear comments that conflict with our values. To ensure that all speakers can express their First Amendment constitutional rights, we ask that you refrain from clapping, cheering, booing, or otherwise being disruptive. You will have 90 seconds to make your remarks, and please be mindful of the time frame. As always, you are not required to use all your time to make your point. If you cannot remain on topic, you will be given 2 warnings, and if you remain off topic, we will have to move on and we'll end your time. Clerk, have we received any written public comment for tonight's meeting?
Mayor and council members, we did not receive any written comment today.
Okay, very good. Moving on to our first and only in-person speaker, Michelle Reich. Please come forward. Reich, excuse me.
Michelle Reich. I'm speaking to 1127 Mentoring. But first, I wish to welcome Mayor Ibsen and our new city council member, Palmer. It's a new year, a new city council. In social psychology, they call that a new beginning. Back to mentoring. I had a mentor in my life when I joined the military in '72 with a GED. And I just completed 8 months of military training, and I got to my first duty station. And I had a mentor, and he told me to go to school. And I followed on that, and over the years from 1970 to 2000, I attended 40 universities and had a lot of degrees. I'm not smart, I'm just educated. And my mentor, Sergeant Tompkins, I got to thank for all those years and where I am today. And if I didn't have that training and mentoring, I would not be able to come to City Council all the time and speak to you on issues there. So I have an extensive background, and that's why you see me all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. That does it for our live people who've signed in for public comment. We have one virtual attendee, Ms. Misty Roll, who wishes to speak virtually.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. This is addressed to the members of the Tacoma City Council. This statement is submitted on behalf of New York Apartments LLP regarding recent events involving the New York Apartments Tenant Union, Tacoma for all public statements and actions taken in connection with the New York Apartments property in Tacoma. Following a news conference held outside the New York Apartments on December 6th, which was supported
Misty, just for clarification, I don't mean to interrupt, but the purpose of public comment is for items on tonight's agenda. Is there a topic on the agenda that you wish to speak to?
Can I see the agenda?
Well, ma'am, we have to respect other people who've signed in, so what you're absolutely welcome to do is to either wait for a topic that's germane, or you can speak at an upcoming community forum, or if you'd like, you can just call or email us, and we're happy to respond to your concern. Is that okay?
Right, I'll stay online and see if it comes up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you again for caring about our city. With that, there is no other speaker who's signed in, so we are going to close public comment, and we're going to move on to the regular agenda, starting with appointments. Item number 14. Clerk, will you please read?
Resolution number 41829 is a resolution appointing Sergio Ramon Cueva Flores as judge to Tacoma Municipal Court, Department Number 2, through December 31, 2026, until a successor is elected and qualified under the 2026 general election.
I move to adopt resolution number 41829.
Second. Moved and seconded. On Friday, November 21st, 2025, Municipal Court Judge Drew Henke announced her retirement effective December 31st, 2025. This leaves the Department Number 2 seat vacant with an unexpired term ending December 31st, 2026. Washington state law allows the city to determine what process it wants to use to fill a vacant judicial position, and list qualifications and appointments must have so long as the individual is an attorney and live in Pierce County on the date of appointment. For this appointment, former Mayor Woodards has asked the council to go through a process in December of 2025 to be proactive and have a candidate to consider for the first council meeting following the formal vacancy in the position. The process asked those interested in the position to submit application materials to the city clerk, who then compiled candidates and sent them to the Government Performance and Finance Committee for interviews and selection of 2 to 3 candidates for the mayor's consideration. Mayor Woodards interviewed 2 finalists for the appointment, and after reviewing materials and meeting with the candidates, has forwarded Sergio Flores for consideration for this appointment. Mr. Flores has extensive and well-rounded experience as both a prosecutor and judge pro tempore. Mr. Flores has served as a judge pro tempore in Tacoma Municipal Court since September 2022 and in Pierce County District Court since January 2023, where he has demonstrated a calm demeanor, strong command of the law, and a consistent commitment to fair and just outcomes. Previously, as a prosecuting attorney with the City of Auburn, he was instrumental in the creation of the Auburn Community Court, which is now a model for jurisdictions across the region, including Tacoma, showing particular strength in therapeutic and problem-solving court approaches. Over the past 3 years, Mr. Flores has presided over all Tacoma Municipal Court dockets, including therapeutic courts, and is fully prepared to assume the responsibilities of Department 2 on the first day of his appointment. If appointed, he would begin as soon as possible and serve throughout the fall until the general election process concludes and the new judge takes office. Are there any council questions or comments? Councilmember Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to take a moment to thank the work of the Government Performance and Finance Committee. This, as you mentioned, was sent to us by the mayor, and we're very lucky to have so many amazing applicants for this position, but I do want to say that Judge Flores did stand out above all the rest, and I think we, the committee, felt very confident that he was a wonderful choice for taking this role, and we were happy to forward his name to the mayor and look forward to confirming him this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hines. Councilmember Diaz.
Thank you. I also want to thank the GBFC committee for their work. I am not on that committee, but I'm really glad that they landed where they did, and that Mayor Ibsen will be going forward with this appointment, particularly for the Latino community. I think Sergio is going to be a really important member of our municipal bench, probably a history maker. I don't see former Mayor Barsma in the room to confirm that, but I would venture to assume, as the first Latina on Tacoma City Council, he will probably be the first municipal court judge of a Latino background, and I'm just so excited to hopefully be welcoming Judge Flores to the bench. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to, I won't belabor the point, but I'm really happy to welcome Sergio to our municipal team, and I'm just really happy to know that we are going to be in great hands, and we're adding somebody who is compassionate and empathetic and smart and kind, and will bring a whole lot to the work that we do here in Tacoma. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Scott. And at just a point of personal privilege, I can say, besides someone who is eagerly looking forward to working with Sergio on innovative policies, I just consider the man a friend. I've known him personally since 2007, the legislative internship. It's funny how time flies, right, being an aging millennial. But seeing that level of consistent dedication, nearly 20 years of consistent interest in public service, most of which has been in Pierce County, I think is astounding. Welcome back. Welcome back to the City of Tacoma. We're really excited to work with you. So with that, all those in favor of adopting resolution number 41829, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Congratulations, Judge. Before we move on, I'd like to give newly minted Judge Sergio Flores the chance to speak.
I'm not sure if I will. I'm very emotional.
You're stuck here now. Go ahead.
Well, I want to thank you all for putting your trust in me. All of you I've spoken to all of you at some point in the past 4 years about my passion for Tacoma Municipal Court and why I wanted to be a judge in Tacoma Municipal Court. And that passion has never changed. It has changed because it's gotten stronger. I am committed and passionate to making sure that Tacoma Municipal Court is the court of our people, and that we are welcoming, and that we are creating a court and programs that are benefiting the community, the victims, and the defendants, and that we are not part of the problem, but part of the solution for the city of Tacoma. I am honored to receive your confidence in me for this role, and I am excited to work with the other judges and the council and the city to do great things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. All right, moving on to item number 15. Clerk, will you please read?
Resolution number 41830 is a resolution appointing and reappointing individuals to the Communities Police Advisory Committee.
I move to adopt resolution number 41830.
Second. Moved and seconded. I'd like to first call on Councilmember Rumbaugh.
Thank you very much. At the December 11th, 2025 Community Vitality and Safety Committee meeting, the committee conducted interviews and recommended the appointment and reappointment of the following individuals to the Community's Police Advisory Committee: Kai Blakeney Robinson, Christopher Putnam, Daniel Knox, Mason Harris, and Rolette Churchwell. And I just want to say that this was like one of the best groups of people that we had apply for these positions to CPAC. I was just so overwhelmed with, I think, as a committee, just of the qualifications and the diversity of people interested in serving on our CPAC committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Rumbaugh. Are there any other council questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting resolution number 41830, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The resolution is adopted. Moving on to item number 16. Clerk, please read.
Resolution number 41831 is a resolution appointing and reappointing individuals to the Landmarks Preservation Commission.
I move to adopt resolution number 41831.
Moved and seconded. I'd like to call on Councilmember Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. At the December 10th, 2025 Infrastructure Planning and Sustainability Committee meeting, the committee conducted interviews, and recommended the appointment and reappointment of the following individuals to the Landmarks Preservation Commission: Maddie Levesque, Anahita Modrek, and Sarah Hilsendegger.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Chair Walker. Are there any other council comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting resolution number 41831, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Resolution is adopted. Item number 17. This item will also cover item number 18. Clerk, will you please read?
Resolution number 41832 is a resolution appointing and reappointing individuals to the Tacoma Arts Commission.
I move to adopt resolution number 41832.
Moved and seconded. I'd like to call on Councilmember Diaz.
Thank you, Mayor. At the December 9th, 2025 Economic Development Committee meeting, the committee conducted interviews for Tacoma Arts Commission and the Tacoma Creates Advisory Board and recommended the appointment and reappointment of the following individuals. To the Tacoma Arts Commission: Lindsay Dodge, Dominique Herron, Sierra Safua McLean, Janessa Post, Ishwan Pan, Elizabeth Panamino, and Sarah Jane Hope. And to the Tacoma Creates Advisory Board: Elena Chernock and Martina No.
Thank you, Councilmember Diaz. Are there any council questions or comments on this item or item 18? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting resolution number 41832, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The resolution is adopted. Item number 18, clerk, please read.
Resolution number 41833
No
is a
cheering.
resolution appointing individuals to the Tacoma Creates Advisory Board.
I move to adopt resolution number 41833.
Moved and seconded. This item was just presented. Are there any additional council questions or comments? Councilmember Diaz, are you logged in?
Yep, no.
Okay. All right. Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting resolution number 41833, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The resolution is declared adopted. And we have invited the individuals being appointed and reappointed tonight to attend the City Council meeting virtually or in person. Whether you're attending virtually or in person, I would very much like to thank you for volunteering and continuing your service on the Communities Police Advisory Committee, Landmarks Preservation Commission, Tacoma Arts Commission, and Tacoma Creates Advisory Board. And we really appreciate your willingness to serve. Is there anyone here in the room who's currently been appointed? Please join me in giving them a round of applause. Thank you for your service to our community. Moving on to item number 19. Clerk, will you please read?
Resolution number 41834 is a resolution appointing city council members to various national, state, regional, and local committees, boards, and commissions, including the city council standing committees through December 31, 2026.
I move to adopt resolution number 41834.
Moved and seconded. Each year, we confirm our appointments to various regional boards and commissions, including our own council standing committees. These roles help us engage in policy discussions across the region that will impact our residents and ensure Tacoma is well represented. Are there any other council questions or comments? Councilmember Rumbaugh.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that this is where the real work happens, serving on these on different boards around the community and like standing up as a council member for the city of Tacoma and representing your values and needs. This work is really important, and I think if you're looking to get involved and know what's going on, this is a really good list to keep with you and kind of see what we're doing, and you can ask us about what goes on the different committees that we might serve on or boards. So I just want to put that out there. I think people are always trying to figure out what we do. We spend a lot of time doing things in other places and other venues with other maybe nonprofits or other community leaders groups like Parks Tacoma, the schools. So just giving that information. We also serve on things that are part of the state of Washington and also more at the federal level. So I just thought you might be interested in that and know that we're working really hard to serve the people of Tacoma. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Are there any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting resolution number 41834, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. The resolution is declared adopted. Item number 20, clerk, please read.
Resolution number 41835 is a resolution nominating and electing Councilmember Joe Bushnell to the office of Deputy Mayor to serve a one-year term to expire December 31, 2026.
I move to adopt resolution number 41835.
Second.
Moved and seconded. This resolution will appoint Councilmember Joe Bushnell as Deputy Mayor for the 2026 calendar year. The Deputy Mayor serves as a senior council member, primarily responsible for chairing council meetings in the Mayor's absence, attending community events on the Mayor's behalf when the Mayor is unavailable, and serving as acting Mayor when the Mayor takes a leave of absence. On a personal note, I will say that having known Mr. Bushnell over the years, both as a friend and as a colleague, I've seen tireless representation on behalf of our community and on behalf of small business. The work that he's done in corridors like Hosmer Street and general advocacy for public safety in our neighborhoods. The API community, the South End in general, speaks to his servant leadership character and his devotion to our city, and it's my privilege to nominate him for the position. Are there any other council questions or comments? Joe.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to appreciate my send my appreciation to my council colleagues for allowing me for the opportunity to serve in this role. It takes a majority of the body to approve something like this, and it really is a vote of confidence. And I also want to just thank the community for also wanting to entrust me with this role as well. I represent District 5 very strongly, and I do my best to also represent the city of Tacoma as a whole on many of the regional boards and commissions that has been mentioned by Councilmember Rumbaugh. And so I'm looking forward to continuing to serve in this way and listening to everybody in the city and try to make the best decisions on our behalf. Thank you.
Very good. Are there any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting resolution number 41835, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The resolution is adopted. Congratulations, Deputy Mayor Bushnell. Please join me in giving him a round of applause. Moving on to purchase resolutions. Item number 21, clerk, please read.
Resolution number 41836 is a resolution awarding a contract to Psalmus, Inc. in the amount of $2,011,861.72, plus applicable taxes budgeted from the Transportation Capital Fund for planning, data collection, and design services for the Portland Avenue Vision Zero Improvement Project.
I move to adopt resolution number 41836.
Moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the council?
I have one.
Councilmember Sildage.
I just wanted to confirm, this is part of the improvements from roughly I-5 down to 56th Street?
Is Ms. Charlotte Kinlow available? Welcome, Ms.
I'm
Kinlow.
Charlotte Kinlow with the City of Tacoma Public Works Engineering Group. I'm the project manager for the Portland Avenue Vision Zero project. And yes, council member, this is going from I-5 all the way down to the East Side Community Center by 56th Street.
Great, and it's, if I recall correctly, it's 3 years? Or how long is this for?
Well, this is a planning study. So,
Yes, how long would the planning study take, or we anticipate?
I mean, about 2 years.
Okay.
It's actually, I misspoke there. It's not just a planning study, it's for designing the project as well. We don't currently have construction funding, so we don't know how long it would take to get the whole project constructed, but about 2 years to design.
And if I'm not mistaken, this also will take a lot of community input into account in the design that we do come up with for traffic calming on Portland Avenue.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, thank you. And to the rest of my colleagues over here, I think we all know that Portland Avenue is absolutely a high-risk corridor in the city. And I am just so glad that I'm here where we're finally putting money together to move this one step forward to eventual construction. I know we're going to have to end up finding money for that when that happens, but I'm looking forward to the community engagement and the cool designs that we're going to see for what we can do on Portland Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions and for your explanation. Any further comments or questions from the council on this topic? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting resolution number 41836, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The resolution is declared adopted. Item number 22, clerk, please read.
Resolution number 41837 is a resolution awarding a contract to R.L. Alia Company in the amount of $4,107,365 plus a 15% contingency, budgeted from various funds for roadway surface improvements, ADA-compliant curb ramps, stormwater main replacement, and a new pedestrian and bicycle connection for a projected contract total of $4,723,469.75 plus applicable taxes.
I move to adopt resolution number 41837.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any council questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting, I'm sorry, Councilmember Rumbaugh.
Can I know where this is going? Is this all over the city, or just curious?
All right, is Veronica Munoz available? Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Veronica Munoz, Engineering Project Manager, leading this project. So you'd like to know the location of the project? So this is going to cover various streets. Leading up to Tacoma Mall Boulevard and the I-5 off-ramp, and connecting through 54th, 56th, and I'll be happy to send a detailed vicinity map via memo to just give full details of the location.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of adopting resolution number 41837, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Resolution is declared adopted. Moving on to item number 23. Clerk, please read.
Resolution number 41838 is a resolution awarding a contract to U.S. Oil and Refining Company in the amount of $3,218,750 plus a 35% contingency, budgeted from the Asphalt Plant Fund for bulk asphalt oils for an initial contract term of 5 years for a projected contract total of $4,345,312.50 plus taxes.
I move to adopt resolution number 41838.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any council questions or comments? Councilmember Hines.
Yes, I'll make this one really quick. If Jacob's in the audience, we're going to go 3 for 3. My question would be, when we're purchasing oil from U.S. Oil for asphalt, this is for our asphalt plant in the city of Tacoma, correct?
Correct.
So, because we do purchase bulk from, let's say, Miles or Tucci's, but that's all
That's
separate from this.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Thank you for your question. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting resolution number 41838, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Resolution is declared adopted. Item number 24, clerk, please read.
Resolution number 41839 is a resolution authorizing an increase to and extending the contract with Herrera Environmental Consultants, Inc. in the amount of $1,589,181, budgeted from the Stormwater Fund, to continue a field study to monitor stormwater and storm sediments for contaminants of emerging concerns, for a projected total of $2,799,468 plus taxes through April 30, 2028.
I move to adopt resolution number 41839.
Second. Moved and seconded. Are there any council questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting resolution number 41839, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Resolution is declared adopted. Moving on to resolutions, item number 25. Clerk, please read.
Resolution number 41840 is a resolution authorizing the submittal of an application for a low-interest drinking water state revolving fund loan from the Washington State Department of Health in the estimated amount of $1 million for 2 water main replacement projects.
I move to adopt resolution number 41840.
Second. Moved and seconded. I'd like to call on Mr. Mark Powell.
Good evening, Mayor Ibsen and members of the Tacoma City Council. My name is Mark Powell, and I'm an analyst with Tacoma Water. Today, I am here requesting your consideration and approval of resolution number 41840, which would authorize Tacoma Water to apply for a low-interest drinking water state revolving fund loan from the Department of Health. If successful, proceeds from this loan would be used to fund 2 main replacement projects that would remove galvanized and plastic main on A Street South and East D Street and replace it with 8-inch ductile iron pipe, and also replace associated valves and fittings and add fire hydrants. The basic details of the loan, the total amount would be $1,085,298. The interest rate is expected to be 1.75%, which is a very good interest rate. When we look at other ways of, borrowing funds, we often look at bonds, which hover around the 3% mark. So this is a very favorable interest rate for us. The payback term would be 24 years. And we expect to get a subsidy of 50% loan forgiveness at the conclusion of the project. So, potentially get $500,000 back for the ratepayers. If the council approves this resolution, then Tacoma Water will return for the final reading. And then if our application is successful, we will come back and work through executing that agreement with you as well. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions or comments from the council? Councilmember Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious, and maybe this is Councilmember Diaz's question, is this the first grant coming through with our new process? Or would this have come forward anyway? Okay, sorry. City Manager.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Walker. We are looking forward to having that program launched in conceptually sometime this year, but the resolution directed me to have that complete by the start of 27. So this is not part of that. We're not tracking on this one yet.
Thank you for that. So this grant would have come to us for approval, or the application would have come forward for approval anyway?
Correct. Working with Director Flowers, we would be working towards this effort this year.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And just a point of clarification, this would be a low interest loan, so slightly different than a grant.
Great. Thank you for clarifying that. That does make a huge difference. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you, Mark, for your presentation. All those in favor of adopting resolution number 41840, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Resolution is declared adopted. Moving on to item number 26. Clerk, please read.
Resolution number 41841 is a resolution approving the cancellation of the following 8 regular city council meetings and 8 regular study sessions in 2026. January 20, February 17, March 17, May 26, September 8, November 24, December 22, and December 29.
I move to adopt resolution number 41841.
Second. Moved and seconded. We have a motion before us for consideration.
Yes, I move to amend resolution number 41841 on page 1, line 10, and on page 2, line 3 by inserting the dates April 7th and September 1st.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I'd like to call on council members Hines and Diaz.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Ipson. So what we're doing here is, thanks to the voters, back in 2024, we changed our process by the number of meetings we need to hold within a given year, including allowing us to count study session and special meetings as part of our overall total, which gives us flexibility on when we do need to hold our business meetings. So we've made pretty consistent cancellations of meetings around federal holidays, but something Councilor Diaz and I had discussed in the past was the August time period tends to be a little bit slower when it comes to policymaking here in the council, and so we're already canceling the September 2nd date for Labor Day. We wanted to include September 1st for a kind of a 2-week break. It's usually a slower time for policymaking here. A lot of our staff members, a lot of our council members, a lot of our constituents are out enjoying their summer breaks, and it makes sense that we take a period of time of which to break before we move into kind of the intense period that falls after with budget making. And that we also added the date of April 7th, which coincides with the Tacoma Public Schools spring break, which is also a time where we have staff members, constituents, council members often looking to take breaks around that time. There's less going on at that council meeting, and so trying to best balance the scheduled meetings with when our public is paying attention, when our public is engaged, really kind of leading into some more of the transparency we want to see on the council going forward. So I'm proposing that we add these 2 dates to the schedule for cancellation, and I would pass, if Councilor Diaz wants to add anything, I'm happy to let her join in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for bringing these amendments forward. Is there any additional council question or comment? Seeing none, the vote is on the motion to amend resolution number 41841. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The motion is declared adopted. Resolution number 41841 as amended is now before us. As noted earlier today, this resolution will cancel the following Tuesdays: January 20th, February 17th, March 17th, April 7th, May 26th, September 1st, September 8th, November 24th, December 22nd, and December 29th. The following traditional cancel meetings for Tuesdays, these follow traditional cancel meetings for Tuesdays that follow a holiday each year. Are there any additional council questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting resolution number 41841 as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The resolution is declared adopted. Moving on to final reading of ordinances, item number 27. Clerk, please read.
Ordinance number 29079 is an ordinance granting a non-exclusive 10-year telecommunications franchise agreement to SQF LLC, doing business as Verta, to construct, operate, and repair a telecommunications system in the city.
This item was presented December 2nd, 2025. Are there any additional council questions or comments? Councilmember Palmer.
We are voting on this tonight, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I will just abstain just because I wasn't around for the discussion, so just FYI. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Palmer. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, clerk, will you please call the roll?
Deputy Mayor Bushnell?
Aye.
Councilmember Diaz? Aye. Councilmember Hines? Aye. Councilmember Palmer is abstaining. Okay. Councilmember Rumbaugh?
Aye.
Councilmember Sadalge?
Aye.
Councilmember Scott?
Aye.
Councilmember Walker?
Aye.
And Mayor Ibsen.
Aye. The ordinance is declared passed. Item number 28, clerk, will you please read?
Ordinance number 29087 is an ordinance amending Chapter 6A.70 of the Municipal Code relating to local option taxes by adding new sections 6A7043 and 6A7044 and imposing a local 0.1% sales and use tax to fund investments in criminal justice effective April 1, 2026.
This item was presented December 9th, 2025. Are there any additional council questions or comments? Councilmember Deputy Mayor Bushnell.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to, this is a sales tax increase that is going to be councilmanically imposed onto the residents of Tacoma. But I wanted to make sure to let folks know that, you know, we have very limited funds, and what's available for us is dictated to us by the state legislature. And this is one of the tools that the recent legislature has given us in order to help fill some budget constraints within local government budgets, and particularly around public safety. And these, I really appreciate our government affairs team for, as this bill was going through the legislature, they found some flexibility in that language to allow for many of our different public safety programs, including domestic violence, alternative response, and other things. Because public safety in our community is not just a police response. It is a whole picture of community response to public safety issues. And this sales tax is going to help us to fund those vitally important programs. With that being said, this is a sales tax, and I want to recognize that sales taxes, in my opinion, are very regressive in nature and really impact community members that can least afford it because of the way in which they are imposed on our community. But again, this is one of the few options that are given to us by the legislature, and so I will be supporting this tonight. And I do appreciate our legislature for giving us this option. I'm really looking forward to other options that we can do with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilmember Palmer.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo Deputy Mayor Bushnell's comments there about taxes. Taxes are never fun. This is one of the things that we have available to us in order to fulfill some of the things that we're trying to do at the city. So a number of council members have reached out to me with some questions about the tax, so I just wanted to take a second to address those questions. Our city manager and director of finance have also addressed the points, done a really good job about speaking to them, but I wanted to stress them for clarity. First, this legislation only authorizes a 0.1% sales tax. We are not deciding tonight how the city will use this new revenue or what services it will help fund. The state does require that we use the revenue for criminal justice purposes, but that does not mean that we are required to use this revenue only for our police force. The state has given us a broad definition of services that meet a criminal justice purpose. This list includes domestic violence services, diversion programs, reentry work for inmates, alternative responses programs, mental health, and other services. The second issue I wanted to clarify is that the state requires us to ensure that our police department participates in a variety of trainings to be eligible for this tax. These trainings include violence de-escalation techniques, mental health training, special trainings for trauma-informed, gender-based violence investigations. And I know that we've been working hard, or you guys have been working hard before I got here, to set high standards for our police department. And I'm very pleased that the state is tying this funding to these types of ongoing trainings for our police officers. And I think it's vital that we ensure our police department reduces harm and violence in our community. And I believe this legislation and the trainings that are required for eligibility will help us advance to that important goal. So I'm looking forward to discussing how we might use this revenue in the future, in the coming months, and I'm excited to hear from the community about what you want us to prioritize. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Saldake.
Thank you. I'm going to be honest, I actually wanted to be a very strong no on this. I wanted to be a strong no on this because the thousands of residents I've talked to are just tired of being taxed, of having their every one of their costs go up. And then I got angry. I got angry because we live in a state which has such a regressive system where we're taxing poor people to help poor people because, 1/10 of 1% for many of us is not much of anything. But you add that, you build that to the neediest people in our communities, and that adds up. I wish we had a fairer way of taxing. We have a regressive system not just based on the fact that a sales tax charges the people that make the least amount of money the highest percentage of their total income, but because we have a structure on a local level that structurally also effectively keeps us from keeping up with even inflation. Where even though we have certain rates of taxes, we really as a city, our general fund is not growing much more than about 2% a year. And we've done a really good job of keeping our inflation rate or our cost increase rate a little over 3%, but that's still an entire percent that we're always behind. And it ends up costing us service levels. And invariably we come back and we find a new fee. We found some other way of finding some other additional revenue, and it becomes jarring, it becomes galling, and it starts eroding trust. We have to face that fact, that that's what happens when we are sitting up here and we're saying we need this money to keep up, and so we're just going to have to tax someone a little higher. And every day when someone goes and buys a cup of coffee or anything else that they're buying, they're going to see on their receipt another 1/10 of 1%. And they're going to know that we're the ones that did it, right? But at the end of the day, we're all sitting up here because we have to make hard decisions. And so what I want to implore a lot of people out there is that if there is a system that needs to change in this state, it is this taxing system. And I hope that there is as much energy in wanting to come up with a better, more progressive system across this state that can help us manage our finances appropriately. But as I sit here, like I said, and I realize that my job here is to be a responsible governor for the city, and I look at the programs that we as a city have been very on the forefront of funding, alternative response models, for example, in public safety. I have to weigh this inherent distastefulness, let's say, to be diplomatic, because there's a lot worse words I can use on how I feel, with what this money can help us do, which is to keep some of these programs that we do not have sustainable revenue sources for going. So I implore all of us up here to be cautious, to be thoughtful at the budget, and think about this not as a fund that allows us to expand our budget greatly, but to help keep funding in a sustainable manner some of the really good programs we've already put together, and to make them to make them be the types of programs that make our city stronger. So at the end of the day, I am going to say yes, and I'm going to feel terrible about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sadagi. Councilmember Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just, I first of all reiterate the fact that with my colleagues, right, that no one runs for office with the goal of raising taxes, you know, and no one. People often struggle to pay them. We have a regressive tax fund. I think those are all really important points. I would just like to preface and just make sure I'm clear right here. First of all, thank you to staff and all the work you've done. Thank you for all of the employees that of which when we implement this, if we implement it and vote by it, I look forward to working with them about understanding how we better allocate these dollars to pay for some of the services we're looking for. I do think this conversation, I would just make sure I'm going to bring it back here in a few months when we have this further conversation. Because I do think that while I am hesitant to raise taxes because I recognize how regressive sales taxes are, I also recognize that one of the other reasons for the costs of providing public safety in our community is we've expanded the definition of what public safety means over the last few years since I've been on council. So when I started on council, we had a police department, we had a fire department. Since then, we've added a HOPE team, a HEAL team. Well, we had a HEAL team, but we expanded the HEAL team. We added community service officers. We're looking at expanding other alternative response models. So we're growing what we are looking to pay for through public safety. And one of the ways we have to try to pay for that is by asking our residents to pay. And I think we can talk about looking at a more fair and system of how we tax people in our state. And I think the state legislature is going to be looking at that here in this next legislative session. I would just hope that we hold on to this as we move into our budget cycle and we start thinking about how do we best allocate these dollars in a way that meets the needs of the community. Because one thing I have noticed in my almost a little more than 6 years on the council is no one has ever come to us and said, I want less. Everybody's come to us and said, I want more. And so this is a broader, I think, a good conversation to be had as we think about it, which is kind of how do we best meet the needs of the community with the resources we have, working with our staff, working with our community in a way that's transparent and gets us closer and closer to kind of the community safety plan we have in place. And that's something I think we should be keeping top of mind as we move forward with this conversation. And I'll be voting in support mostly because the number one thing I heard from the residents of the city over the last year was that they want greater perceptions and a sense of safety. And so I have very limited compunction about investing in more safety when that's the number one thing I hear, while I do have concerns about the kind of tax system in which we're addressing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hines. Councilmember Rumbaugh.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that I really appreciate everything that Councilmember Sadalge had to say, and Councilmember Hines as well. I see this differently. I see the erosion of funding for domestic violence in our community. I see domestic violence as something tied to youth violence and gun violence that we see in our community, what's happening with our youth. And this is a way to do something preventative. And that's where I see this, and I see it in our courts, having a court-appointed advocate, which we don't have in our municipal court, but I also see it as supporting something that we care about in our community, which is Crystal Judson Family Justice Center, which I sit on the board of, along with my vice chair on that, which is Jamaica Scott. And I just want to say that this is so important to me that when I first got on council, I This is what I talked about when the reporter got to me. She said, what do you want to talk about? I said, I want to talk about domestic violence and sexual assault. And she was not interested in that conversation, but I am, and I'm going to continue to talk about it. And this is a way to fund that so that we are not looking to say that this isn't important. We're saying it is significant and we see it. And this is money that is actually for that. And I like that because when it's just sitting in the general fund, it's sort of, maybe that money goes away. And I don't want it to go away. I want us to continue to see this as an important thing. The rates of domestic violence continue to increase in our county and in our city. And every day when we look at the crime report, there is some type of death or violence that's happened that's related to domestic violence. So I appreciate my counsel. I am going to be supporting yes on this. I would love to have a different type of setup for our tax system, but we don't, and that's unfortunate. It's in our Constitution, the way it's written up, that we don't have an income tax, which I think does create the people who might be be the victims are the ones having to pay for this, which just doesn't seem right. And I am just going to continue to be that voice to stand up for these silent people who are out there struggling with this issue. And I appreciate my counsel, and I look forward to us passing this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rumbaugh, and I too share those sensibilities of local government. And just as much as I'd be the first to express my deep frustration with vividity and unfairness of the state's tax code. I mean, I pay the B&O tax. That's very regressive as well as the sales tax, for example. The reality is that voters have expressed to us time and again, more than just over the last year or two, the desire to feel safer in their neighborhoods. Our neighbors, our schools, our community members from all walks of life. And we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can advocate with our state and our federal partners for a fairer, more just system of revenue for paying for core services. And at the same time, we can't have the luxury of making the perfect the enemy of the good. People need assistance. People need more support. People need to feel even safer now. So to that end, I will be supporting this increase, not with an eye towards throwing money at something broadly speaking, but with very intentional conversations about what the specific return on investment is going to be and how we specifically are going to align these new allocated funds with our community safety action strategy, with working towards the full and hopefully even greater staffing of our police department and ensuring accountability through our upcoming budget process. So those will be the factors that I myself am looking very intently at. And with that, with no further questions or comments from the City Council, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Diaz. Aye. Councilmember Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Rumbaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Sadalge.
Aye.
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Walker.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Bushnell.
Aye.
And Mayor Ibsen.
Aye. The ordinance is declared passed. Moving on to first reading of ordinances, item number 29. Clerk, please read.
Ordinance number 29091 is an ordinance amending Chapter 12.10 of the Municipal Code relating to water, regulations, and rates by amending Section 12.10.310 entitled System Development Charge for charge adjustments and annual increases effective February 1, 2026.
Very good. I'd like to call on Mr. Andrew Zaremba for a presentation on this matter.
Good evening, Mayor Ibsen and members of the Tacoma City Council. My name is Andrew Zaremba, and I'm an economist with Tacoma Water. We are here tonight to ask for your consideration on ordinance number 29091 to amend Tacoma Municipal Code Title 12 Utilities, Chapter 10 Water Regulations and Rates, Section 310 System Development Charge. The purpose of this amendment is to establish an adjustment schedule for the system development charges, also known as SDCs, beginning February 1, 2026 through January 1, 2030. The SDC is a one-time charge assessed at the time of connection to the utilities water system and is intended to represent an equitable share of past and future infrastructure investments. Keeping these charges in line with actual utility costs helps ensure that existing ratepayers are not overburdened with the cost of system expansion. To support these recommendations, Tacoma Water presented to the Tacoma Public Utility Board at study session, to the Master Builder Association, the Tacoma Permanent Advisory Group, the Tacoma Government Performance Finance Committee, and held a public hearing at the Public Utility Board evening session. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any council questions or comments? Councilmember Hines.
Thank you, Mayor Epson. No, we have this presentation of government performance and finance, and just as a reminder, what was the impetus behind making these updates? You talked about this at the meeting, but just what is the impetus behind making the changes?
Sure. There are a number of reasons that we decided to bring these changes to the council and the Public Utility Board now. One of the reasons, it's been about 5 years since our last update in 2019, and there's been a number of infrastructure investments actually made onto our system, and as well as changes in our future capital plan that we wanted to be sure were incorporated into the system development charge. What this also lets us do is with the adjustment schedule that we're proposing via ordinance is it gives us a nice mile marker by which we can review these charges again and determine if they're appropriate for the charges at the time. And also today being an off-budget year gives staff the resources to take on some of the modeling work and working with consultants to ensure that we're bringing forward the right proposal.
And that's a great point. So we are moving into the rate setting year coming ahead this year, 2026. So the reason it was done outside of the rate setting process was there was capacity in 2025 by which to do it and then propose it this year?
That's part of the reason, alongside the various other, just ensuring that it would be difficult to do it alongside budget and rates, given sometimes it requires engaging with a consultant, and doing that alongside budget and rates can be limiting.
And again, the IRP process for Tacoma Water was completed when, or is it in process right now?
Excuse me, the IRP?
The IRP, yeah.
Yeah, that's the Integrated Resource Plan, I believe.
Sorry, Integrated Resource Plan.
That is, I believe that is ongoing. That is more for system and supply and infrastructure planning. I believe that is in progress or nearly done.
Yes, that is in process. We have an update expected this year.
Okay. Yeah. And so the increase in system development charges should fit with what is developed out of the infrastructure resource plan. They should fit together pretty well.
Yes.
So are we projecting out that this is going to be needed as part of the IRP process?
Yes, they will be consistent. So the planning that will come out of the integrated resource plan, those infrastructure investments are reflected in these SDC charges. I will say the SDC charges are intended to capture our current investments and not future investments. Is that? Yeah, sorry.
State law allows us to include up to 10 years of our capital portfolio. What is applicable to a system development charge. The integrated resource plan is, I believe, much further looking than just that. So we incorporate, there is overlap in what is incorporated, but the integrated resource plan often looks out even further than that.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is just, we had this conversation in government performance and finance, which is just around, I know when were system development charges put in place for Tacoma Water? 1993?
97?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm giving a Jeopardy quiz here. In the 90s, so I'll just say that out loud. They've been in place for a period of time. I think my broader concern that I articulated at the Government Performance and Finance Committee, and I'll articulate again here for the public, is we seem to be raising rates on almost every piece of development in the city right now. And this is just a part of it. So not only are we talking about system development charges for water, stormwater, impact fees for traffic improvement, and now water system development charges, I am getting concerned that all these pieces are moving together at the same time. And while you all have been very clear, our system development charges are much lower than anyone else, which is very clearly articulated in the presentation. This is nothing related to your work. I'm just kind of articulating this broader concern I have around, it seems as if every part of the organization is moving to raise costs to develop, when the council has often talked about the fact that we need more housing, and some of the cost of development is a real barrier to some of the housing we want to see. And we just went through this long process through Home of Tacoma to try to allow more housing. It's something I've been thinking about, and I brought this up at Government Performance and Finance. I bring it up again this evening, and something I'll probably continue to talk about. But I do really value the work you all have done. I understand how we've landed here and why we are moving forward at this point in time. I appreciate all the work, but I just think that broader kind of philosophical point should be made. And then the other part that I will remember, we haven't changed for 2019, but did we not lower them at some point in time?
There was, so the 2019 update had been the first update since, I believe, 2004. Excuse me. That study did result in a reduction in the system development charge at the time. So there is possibility for that to happen depending on the makeup of the infrastructure portfolio, as well as depending on the availability of our water resources. If we drill additional wells and have additional supply, then you're spreading the costs over a larger capacity. So it is possible for a study to result in a lower charge.
Okay. And Tacoma Water service territory is larger than the city of Tacoma, so this applies to every customer who is a Tacoma Water customer, not our wholesale customers, or does it apply to our wholesale customers too?
It would apply to new wholesale contracts for additional capacity. So for capacity that's already been secured through contract, this would not affect that. But if a wholesale customer said we want to increase our capacity, or a brand new city said, hey, we'd like to purchase wholesale water for Tacoma, then there is a portion of the rate schedule that would be applicable to them.
Okay. Well, those are all of my questions. I may have additional questions from now and second reading, but I'll be sure to follow up directly with staff on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hines. Before we move on to Councilman Sadagia, this is just a new guy question. Ma'am, I didn't get your name. I'm so sorry.
Sorry. Yes, thank you, Mayor Ibsen and council members. I'm Carrie Burchard Juarez, Tacoma Water Superintendent.
Of course. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We have another question from Councilman Sadagia.
Yeah. Who's paying this? Is it something people are going to see on their water bill when they see it every month? Because every time we talk about rate increases, that's the number one thing constituents are going to be asking for.
Thank you for the question. No, this is not something that people will see on their water bills. This is a one-time charge that's assessed by the utility onto a brand new connection to our system. So think of a brand new home being constructed or a new apartment building being constructed. It represents the load that building or home is on our system. So it is charged at the time of connection, so often to a developer. And then whether the home is sold and purchased, there's no additional charges. Just the one time that the meter is first hooked up.
So any new system hookup, or is it also upgrade of some sort?
Yeah, if somebody upgraded their meter size, they would pay the difference between the charge associated with their existing meter and then the charge associated with the meter they would be upgrading to.
So if you were doing an ADU or DADU, you would pay this as well?
It depends on exactly how the ADU gets developed. If somebody decides to separately meter the ADU, then it would be charged at the meter size that they are being assessed. If somebody is taking an existing meter and then serving two lots or two plots off of it, then there would be a calculation associated with the multifamily rate, which is a factor of the single family rate. So it may result in a small charge. It, in some cases, could result in a credit, depending on how the math works out.
Got it. But net, this isn't something that someone who's watching, this meeting should take away that it is something that is going to all of a sudden pop up on their regular water bill.
That is correct. I would not anticipate that this would be applicable to most customers.
And generally, how much of an increase is it that you guys are doing, or is it like a number of increases? Like, is there
So the result of the system development charge study showed that we needed to have, relative to our existing rates, a sizable increase. We decided, in the spirit of how we normally do our rates, which is through the idea of gradualism, we want to phase into costs. We decided to spread out the impact of this over 5 years, so we have equal adjustments every year through 2030. And once fully phased in, we did a review study of peer utilities in the region and found that even once fully phased in, we are second from the bottom of 15 or so utilities by the time we're fully phased in, assuming nobody else changes their system development charges.
So what is the percentage increase that we should be seeing between now and 5 years? Is it 3%? Is it 30%?
No. It's so the existing charge. There's a schedule of charges for a 5/8 inch single family home. I believe the current charge is around $860, and by 2030, the proposal is to be around, I believe, $2,300 or so.
And that's a 5/8 is standard for a single family home.
It is about approximately 98% of our existing single-family homes.
Does that work also for DADU, or is that a higher one for usual? Because I'm thinking about home in Tacoma.
Yeah, it depends on how many homes would be served off of a meter. It's possible that to serve a detached ADU or an ADU may upsize to a 3/4 inch meter. I have to ask an engineer.
I'll get some of these specifics later. I just wanted to know, so it does look like it is a substantial, it's over 100% increase over 5 years, obviously, right? You said 900 to 23?
800 to 2,700, excuse me.
Wow. That's a 300% increase over 5 years. That is a substantial increase. Okay. I share some of the concerns that Councilmember Hines has raised over here, and I will probably have some questions for you as we go. So maybe then on the other side, there's rates that are going to increase. What are we getting? What are the people of Tacoma getting for these increases?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Sadalge and Councilmember Himes for your comments and questions. One thing that I want to make sure is clear is that a homeowner selling or buying a home, in the vast majority of cases, would not be impacted by this, right? So the transfer of a service from one owner to another does not incur this charge. It is simply if it is a new connection to the system or a larger meter. The way that a lot of homeowners are developing ADUs do not require this as well, right? Most homes, including an ADU, can still be served on a 5/8" meter, right? So there are ways that developers can avoid this charge. One thing that we know, we work very closely with the Master Builders Association. We take that concern about development charges overall very seriously. We understand that there is a stack of charges, and we are part of that, and it can feel like death by 1,000 cuts. And we're very sensitive to that concern. One thing that they have told us is that predictability is extremely important. So when they are financing their project, they need to know what the fees are. And so that's why it's important to us to have a consistent and predictable schedule of increases. We feel like that's the most responsible way to make sure that our current ratepayers are not subsidizing development, while also giving our developers the predictability and the consistency they need to make sure that these costs are rolled into their initial financing when they're planning their project.
But just to go to the original question, what should we expect to get over time for this?
Yes. So what developers are buying into, or what Tacoma is, the people who pay this are buying into, is a system that is sustainable, right, going forward. So the way the Washington state law is outlined is it gives water utilities the ability to charge this fee so that when a new service is added, they are sort of buying into the value of the system that our current ratepayers have been paying for generations and decades, right? So it's this one initial buy-in fee that sort of reimburses our current ratepayers for their investment in the system and allows us to continue making the investments that we need to maintain our system and develop it in a sustainable way over time to continue to serve the growth that our community has.
Maybe I'll rephrase that. If we weren't getting this money, what do we lose?
If we are not funding, if we're not funding, so we are a ratepayer funded organization. So anything that is not any revenue that we're not getting from SDCs will go to ratepayers.
So if we don't do this, people will see it higher on their rates because we have to pay for these. These are mostly capital improvements.
That's right. These are capital expansion improvements that we, have planned out decades in some cases in advance to serve our growth, right? That we've had in the works for years and that we continue to plan for with our integrated resource plan that Councilmember Hines noted. So those are the expenses of, growing and maintaining our system. If they're not paid for through a system development charge, they're going to get paid for in rates.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sadalge. Councilmember Diaz.
Thank you. I have one little question, not to keep us here in the weeds, but if it's better to give me an example later offline, please feel free to say that. I'm just wondering, you touched on it a little bit with there not being a charge at home ownership transfer or different sale transfer points. But I'm wondering if there's other examples beyond just getting an ADU or just building a whole new development on a plot of land. What other, if there are normal, just casual ways that people would be upgrading their their meter and they would incur this fee?
That's a great question, and I might ask Brian Cox to come up and give a couple of real-world examples. You know, right now we're seeing a lot of growth in the Tahale neighborhood, for example. So, you know, we're seeing a lot of SDC revenue coming in from that. Those are new connections and an expansion to the system. When we're talking about infill development, it's really if there is a vacant lot that doesn't have a service on it, or if it is a lot that is densifying, right? So let's say a developer buys a lot with a single family home and puts in like a sixplex, right? In that case, they will likely need to upgrade from a 5/8 inch meter to maybe a 1 inch or a 1.5 inch, depending on their irrigation needs. They will get credit for the value of their 5/8 inch meter, but then they have to pay the difference between that and their new meter size, right? So that is an initial investment that developer is making when they build that denser housing development, and they are rolling that into their finance cost, you know, for their entire, for all of their project cost. So, you know, this isn't something that your average Tacoma water ratepayer is paying, right? It is more for developers that are coming in and developing in areas that are not currently developed, which is like Tahale. And if a developer buys a vacant lot that is, you know, within our service area but doesn't have an existing service. Some vacant lots have an existing service, right? And so there's already one there they connect to. If that's the case, they don't pay an SDC. But if there's a vacant lot with no service, that's where this would come in.
I hear you. I'm just curious about what those anomalies are when inevitably, should this pass, we will get an email from someone who says, hey, I live on G Street and I'm trying to put in a pool and I'm getting this charge. I'm just trying to assess what if any of those just casual ways that someone might have this happen to them, even if they're not usual.
It's typically if it's somebody who is building an ADU and they want a separate meter for it, right? So a lot of times there's the capacity within the 5/8 inch meter to serve their ADU or detached ADU, right? A lot of times the capacity is there in that existing meter, but they may for whatever reason want to have a separate meter rather than to sub-meter, right? If they want whoever they sell or rent their dadu to be able to pay Tacoma Water directly rather than paying them, they might choose to purchase a separate meter for them. And then they would pay that $2,700 fee, which it'll be $2,700 in 5 years. So that's an example of, you know, when what we think of as more of our typical homeowner might be impacted by it. They largely would not be impacted by things like pools or hot tubs or things like that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilman Diaz. Deputy Mayor Bushnell.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate all the comments. I just wanted a few quick clarifications, and sorry if this was in the presentation earlier. When did we last update the system development charters for this?
I believe the last time we undertook a study was in 2019 with rates effective in 2020.
Okay, and so in that time, what's really, I'm assuming there's been a lot of cost escalations. I know that construction costs alone have risen over 100%, so that could factor in. But where's the other percentage of cost escalation coming from? As I feel like we've kind of really gone out of whack from, I guess, where we would expect to be at this point in time to where we're needing to see these significant.
Sure, it is the infrastructure that has been built into the system since the last update goes into the pool of costs that we can include as part of the system development charge, as well as our new capital improvement plan, which is now including things like pipeline one pressurization, PFAS treatment that we're going to need to start putting into our system. So those are costs that previously had not been part of the study because they had not been part of the regulations yet, or things that we just hadn't put into our system yet.
Great, thank you. And you know, this is really in alignment, I think, with the growth pace for growth. You're buying into this system and what it provides to you. And I don't want to necessarily burden our current ratepayers with this when they are tapping into the system. I'd love to see gradualism is one of the tenets of TPU, especially when it comes to rates. And so this seems to me a little out of alignment with that policy. But I know that with the 5-year plan, we're trying to implement that gradualism within it to really get us to where we need to be. But it does strike me in how far off we were from the last time we did these adjustments. And so I don't know if there's any way we can control for that going into the future, but it's something that I think we should definitely consider. All right, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilmember Palmer.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. I'm definitely going to have more questions because I wasn't available or here yet for the presentation. So I look forward to talking with you all more about that. I just had, I guess, an immediate question. It sounds like maybe a lot of our concerns, because our goal here is to we just passed Home in Tacoma, right? And we want to do that middle housing and encourage that. And I think we want to encourage our owners, our residents, to do some of the development as well. And so I don't know if there's been any kind of conversations around exemptions for maybe current owner occupiers who are wanting to develop their own property.
Thank you for the question. I don't believe we've had any discussions about exemptions, but what I will note is that particularly as residents want to densify their existing plots through an ADU or a DADU. One thing that we did as part of the study is we did review the multifamily component of the system development charge. Prior to this new study, the data we had available and we had access to suggested that we should assess a multifamily unit a rate equal to 60% of the single family home charge. The assumption that a multifamily unit has less usage, particularly during the summer, and that would justify us charging a lower rate for a multifamily unit, which an ADU or a DADU would apply. As we reviewed the study, we found we were able to lower that factor down to 44%. So through this study, we're able to more clearly identify the usage of a multifamily customer and then reduce the factor by which we are assessing compared to a single family home. So that is one way we wanted to ensure that we could support the goals of Home in Tacoma and make sure that we are charging only what is necessary to represent the load that a new meter is putting on the system.
Thank you. Councilmember Rumbaugh.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to thank Councilmember Palmer for her question because it's sort of on the same line as mine. Is there an exemption for affordable housing? I know that when we went ahead and did, we have an exemption from impact fees for affordable housing. So I'm just wondering if is there a state law that says you can't do that? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I am not a lawyer, but maybe somebody who has some.
I also am not a lawyer, and I don't play one on TV either. Yes, the law is more restrictive around how utilities can charge customers and what types of exemptions or discounts we can give. So the language is just a little more restrictive. We are allowed to give discounts like we do through our discount program to individual customers, but not to like an LLC, for example, or like a development company, or even like an affordable housing provider, right? We're only allowed to give discounts like that to individual customers.
That's your BCAP program, right?
What's that?
The BCAP program.
Yes. Well, what our Oh, Inkel's here.
Yeah, you have an attorney here. Oh, awesome.
Yes, we'll let the actual attorney answer these questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rumbaugh. Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Mayor Ibsen and council members. So, the general rule is that, there is no gift of public funds, right? You generally have an exception for the poor and infirm that's outlined in the state constitution. And so we do have programs that allow for that to typically our residential customers. As Carrie was explaining, it's very hard for a corporation to qualify as as the poor and infirm. I have never seen it happen. I suppose there's potentially a path, but I just have never seen it happen. Because
So the housing authority would not be able to be exempt?
It is not exempt currently, and again, I think that's a very slippery slope if you were to endeavor to go down that path, because I think what you see nowadays is every development is LLC specific, right? Meaning that they could create it for whatever purpose they want, and I don't know that you would be, I think that path is fraught with potential for abuse.
Okay, I think I'll ask some questions offline.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rombau. Councilman Saldage.
I'm going to try to keep it really brief. Thank you very much for the second chance at this. I had two things. One, based on Councilmember Rumba, I would love to maybe work with you on exploring whether, legally we can get low-income housing providers in, because we do have the requirement of a deed restriction, which does keeps certain developments affordable at a certain level for a really long time, and maybe that's a way to go through that. But my main question is this, because, one of the things that's up everywhere is PFAS and, or whatever it's called, the nonstick stuff, right? That's really bad for you. Is this a way to help us potentially deal with contamination of some sort? I mean, I know we're generally, at or well below those levels, but I do know, if I recall, there was 1 or 2 wells that found that, or are those types of programs not there? I'm thinking about stuff that my constituents would ask me in these, what do we get for it?
Yeah, these, the revenue collected from these charges would be usable for PFAS-related capital work.
But the capital work would have to be added to your program, or is it already added?
There are components of it that are in our program.
Got it. Okay, so that's one tangible thing we can say, that there are, these are the types of programs we need to fund as a way to kind of understand why there's such a large. What I am struggling with, and maybe you can help me in this next week, is to understand why is it such a large increase.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Saldage. Are there any further questions or comments? Seeing none, the ordinance will be set over for final reading next week. Moving on to unfinished business, is there any unfinished business? Seeing none, reports by the city manager. Interim city manager, do you have a report this evening?
Mayor, I just have one short report. I do want to report and celebrate staff. There's things that happens in the course of running our operations where things happen, and when everything is working well, we don't speak about those things. We had an incident in Fircrest from our Environmental Services Department for our sanitary sewer. We had a forced main, 16-inch main line, that actually ruptured on December 19th. I want to celebrate Craig May and his team. I would say, to say it's tireless efforts, they spent approximately 28 hours from 6 a.m. to the next day, next morning, taking care of this because it was impacting 2 residents. We are still doing some remediation cleanup. I want to thank Craig May and his staff. I want to thank the engineers from Environmental Services. I want to thank the crews, the main crews that responded. They were responsive at 6 a.m. They stayed until 11 p.m. before they were actually rotated out. And so over the course of that 28 hours, to Mr. Craig May and his team at Environmental Services in our sanitary sewer division, I want to thank them. And so I just want to say that for the record, and more of these are to come, and just celebrating them. Thank you very much. That's my short report. Thank you.
Thank you, Interim City Manager. Appreciate that. Moving on to council, to comments and committee reports of the City Council. Are there any final council comments? Councilmember Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 quick announcements. One is very exciting. A press release just went out about some funding that the city has received for transportation projects from the Washington State Transportation Improvement Board. And 2 key projects, I won't go into them in detail, but they both are Vision Zero projects that will help make our streets safer. One is the South 12th Street improvements, and that's $3.7 million for that project that we've just received. And then the other one is a Safe Routes to School project on South Park Avenue, and that is adjacent to Fernhill Elementary. So very exciting that we're going to be able to add a safer route for kids and families that are walking to school every day. So congratulations to Public Works, and very excited to implement those, or see those projects implemented. And speaking of safe transportation, one of my favorite events of the year is tomorrow. It's Light Up Your Ride with Tacoma on the Go. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. and they will provide materials to light up your ride with lights and reflective gear, and then we pedal around downtown. The last one is may seem premature. It's an event on May 2nd, but it is important to announce it now. It's the first Tacoma Literature Festival, and it is announcing now because they are gathering vendors. So this is a big festival that will bring together writers, filmmakers, poets, and artists. There's vendors, but there's also panel discussion, talks, and keynotes being put on by Grit City Studio. And so if you want more information or you are a vendor that wants to participate, reach out to them and get excited about that on May 2nd at the Tacoma Armory.
Thank you, Councilmember Walker. Are there any additional council comments or questions? I have a thing for the good of the order myself. So in the interest of accessibility and proactive communication, something I'm going to start doing effective tomorrow and on subsequent Wednesdays is what I'm going to call a mayor's office hours. So this is pretty informal, basically, but it's just me going to a public location, usually a cafe, a pub, a restaurant, rotating through the different council districts for no more than an hour and a half, 2 hours. And all I'm going to do is just my work, checking emails and making calls, but with an announced location and time to be available for anyone who wants to drop in, who doesn't want to go through the formal process of getting on my calendar or giving me a call. It's just an opportunity to say hello, ask questions. If you need constituent casework or have any suggestions, then it's your opportunity to see me. The first of those mayor's office hours is going to be tomorrow, the first of many Wednesdays, from 2:30 to 3:45. It's going to be in District Number 1, because counting, it's a late night. We're going to be at the Cutter's Point on the corner of Pearl and North 21st, 2:30 to 3:45. And moving forward, starting tomorrow as well, district council members are certainly welcome. So my assistant will be reaching out to yours in case you happen to be free and are interested. Figured I'd borrow liberally from really good ideas as I've seen them. I really like what I've seen, for example, from Councilman Hines' Coffee with a Councilman, for example. So definitely interested in running with that and other ideas. So Councilman Hines, this is your invitation. If you're free, you're certainly more than welcome. And moving forward with future district representatives as well. So expect a little bit more information as we unpeel that particular idea, but just wanted to daylight that. Come one, come all. And with that, unless there's any further comments from the City Council, and it looks like there's no need for excusing any members of the
I move to adjourn.
Tonight. There's a movement to adjourn. Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, we are adjourned. Good night, everyone.